In November 1982, Honda opened up their Marysville, Ohio plant, which started to produce the Honda Accord. In 1993, they came out with a 10th anniversary edition for the US market. And now, since this is a 2018 model, it means that they've been open for 35 years. So happy birthday, Honda, and we hope you continue making more Accords like this because we're really impressed with this one. Our spotlight today is on this 2018 Honda Accord 1.5 liter Touring. We're going to be showing you everything about this car, taking it for a drive, and going over everything else you need to know if you're in the market for Honda's 10th generation midsize family sedan. Now this is an all new generation, as we mentioned, so everything has really changed. It really is very similar to the Honda Civic. It's actually, we saw a lot of them on the road over the past week, and I always mistook them. But really, if you are a Honda enthusiast, the easiest way to tell are the fog lights on the bottom. They are different from the Civic, and obviously the car is bigger, but that's just how it is now with all manufacturers. They're just using the same design language across the board, and I find that it is a little difficult to tell them apart. But the Accord up front has the dual eye LED headlights that they've been using on Acura. They're a little bit different than you can get on the TLX, but they do look quite nice. And you have the LED fog lights at the bottom. Now, the thing I have kind of had an issue with is the Honda Sense sensor at the front. It's actually built in to the bottom of the fascia here. And my issue is because it's a concave design, it'll get all the snow and dirt and debris in there as you're driving along. So more often than in any other car that we've driven so far, it will get disabled because it's full of gunk. So that's the only thing. It looks a little weird, maybe for the rest of the design. So something to keep in mind if you are a stickler for that. There are front parking sensors on the front of the vehicle. Moving around the side, one thing that we don't see too often in this segment are heated wiper blade placements here. So especially a day like today where it's about -23, it's very cold. You can push the little button and turn them on, and I really like that feature because unlike some cars where it says it'll automatically turn on at a certain temperature, you can control whether or not the front heated windshield wipers are on or off, so you know if they're on or off. Mirrors are not power holding, they are just manual. And around the back, again, nothing to be too surprised about. There are parking sensors along the rear of the bumper, and you have a backup camera which can adjust to show you either a wide angle view, a narrow angle view, or sort of a top down, so you can see, if you're backing up to something, you can see how close your bumper really is. Now again, unlike a lot of the other cars in the segment, trunk doesn't open up fully automatically, but I'd say there's a pretty good size of space in the trunk here. You can definitely fit a lot of things back here, whether it's luggage or a banana. So space here in the back seat is pretty good. You do have two USB chargers in the back and then just regular vents along the side. You can control whether or not your light up here is on or off, but there are no map lights for the passengers back here, so you're kind of out of luck. Just kind of flops down. It's still at a good position though. It's not angled too far down, but it doesn't stop like most of the other cars. It just kind of sits on the armrest there. And then you do have your heated seat controls for the rear seats on the doors. Now again, since this is a new generation Accord, everything on the inside is new, and I really do like the wood trim throughout. You've got wood in the center console here along the door cards, and you know, it's still plastic. Every other vehicle we've driven in the segment really does have plastic trim everywhere all throughout, but it really does look quite nice. I really do like the look of it. My only complaint really is the gear shifter. It just sits a little too high. It kind of feels like you're driving a huge truck. You got a massive shifter here, so for example, if it is in drive and I go to use the buttons to control the HVAC, it does kind of get in the way a little bit, so that's something to note about that. But everything else really is straightforward. And again, the only sort of downside to the screen, it's a good size, it's just angled kind of high up, so if you're sitting up really tall hitting the headliner, then you might be able to see it, but I just feel maybe if they angled it a little bit more forward, then it would be in the perfect position. You do have dual zone automatic climate control, and when you change the climate, there's a little LED light behind which will go blue if you're making it colder, or red if you're making it warmer. I think it's quite cool. You have the button for your rear heat defroster and mirrors, and again you have the front windshield defroster for your wipers on a separate button, so if you do need to use them, it's a separate button. You don't have to worry if they're on or off. Steering wheel is straightforward. Again, it's pretty similar to what Honda's offering in their other vehicles. You do have paddle shifters up top, controls for your heads-up display, and the more enhanced information display in the cluster. You can display a lot of information such as music, navigation, your rev counter, and if you put it into the tachometer with the sport mode, it'll change to also add your boost gauge, which is a pretty nice little feature. The only thing it took me a little while to find is the heated steering wheel buttons, kind of in the middle here. And once you figure out where it is, it kind of makes sense. But I was looking all over because normally it's either sitting along the center here or with your heated seat controls, but they've put it kind of hidden here if you're not really aware of where it would be. But once you find it out, it's not too bad. Front seats are heated, front seats are ventilated. Like I mentioned, heated steering wheel. You do have home link up at the top, which again, we don't find in all the mid-size vehicles in this segment. And again, with the heads-up display, it's quite nice. You can change different information on it. You can have either your map, your rev counter, or just your speed limit, which is kind of nice. But we really do like everything that's going on here. We'll go into a little bit more in-depth with the media screen at the end, but it does have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, the navigation. I don't know, I'd say it's pretty similar to what General Motors is offering. So it's not the best, not the worst, but it does get the job done. And then you do have a non-brand name audio system in here. Sounds pretty decent throughout. Hidden underneath the center here is a Qi wireless charger. So you can use your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy Note or Samsung Galaxy products. You can charge it wirelessly there. And I find that the armrest is also in a pretty good position too. It's right where you want it, nice and comfortable. And with the seating position, I've actually been really comfortable, a little bit lower down in this car than we are in other midsize sedans, but I have to say it is a good, sporty oriented position throughout, and really comfortable no matter where you're sitting. Now, believe it or not, this is the first Honda Accord I've driven since our 1990. I haven't driven any of the generations in between, which is kind of disappointing because the 9th gen, the previous one before this, actually looked really nice, and it really does take a lot of the same design cues from it and applies it over here. Same kind of overall size of the vehicle, but really they've reinvented the entire car inside and out. Now, when it comes to the engine and performance of this car, you are looking at a smaller engine than we've seen on previous models. This is only a 1.5 liter turbo, but the entire time we've been driving it the last couple days, we've never felt like it needed more power. We've actually always been in the econ mode rather than regular mode or sport mode. And for the most part, we've kept it pretty efficient. We can see if you're efficient or not with the little green lights that are on your instrument cluster here. So when you're in econ mode and you're driving efficiently, it'll keep those lights on. But for example, we're here at a stop sign now, come to a stop, and yeah, if I give it some gas, the light turns off because we're going a little quick here, but the car actually really picks up surprisingly quick. And like I said, we're not even in sport mode here. So I do find that there is quite a bit of power for this little engine and for the size of the vehicle. I'm quite impressed with it. Now, I know most of the enthusiasts who are watching this are going to be opting for the 2-liter engine, if anything. They don't offer V6 anymore. They don't offer the coupe either. So, I mean, the Honda Accord is only a sedan, and it either comes with the 2 or 1.5-liter turbos. The reason why I say the enthusiasts are going to consider the 2-liter is because this only comes with a CVT. And we're not huge fans of CVTs here. You know, there are flappy paddles, so I could kick it down, but it's not really, you know, it's not a real gear that it's into because it's a CVT. But, you know, if you really want to put it into manual mode, it'll shift into something. And then if you want to, the shifter is, you know, on its own. There's no sport mode with the gear shifter. You just push the sport button. What I like about it, so it changes those green lights to red, and we've got the tachometer on the display here because it has a high detail computer to show you, you know, different things like audio, navigation. But when you have the tach on regular mode, it's just the regular tachometer, but you put it onto sport mode, now it makes it a little bit smaller and it adds the turbo spool. So for currently right now we're in the minuses, we're minus half apparently, but if we give it some gas, it'll go up to 1 and show you when it's dumping all that air into the engine. So it's kind of fun. You can see your turbo in real time up to I guess 1.5 kPa, and it's kind of fun, you know, if you're in sport mode. It does give you a little bit of extra oomph. Transmission gets mapped a little bit differently, and I find that, you know, really you don't need to use it if you're going in and on to the highway trying to pass people. Econ mode is sufficient. Really, I'm really impressed with the amount of power you get out of such a small engine. But if you really do want to get a little bit more power, you can go into sport mode. And the overall ride and handling is also very good on this. I'm actually very comfortable sitting in this car. From a ride perspective, yeah, it's firm, the steering wheel's firm, and you go over the bumps, you do feel them a little bit, but you do sit a little bit lower down. I have quite a good amount of headroom here, and the seats are quite cushioning. You don't really sink into them as much as some other cars, but they're also not as firm as you might find on some of the other cars in the segment. So you are right in that middle ground of what you really are looking for in terms of comfort. And I've been very comfortable, very enjoyable experience overall driving this car in the past couple days. Throughout the week here, I've really enjoyed just every aspect of it. I think it's a different looking car. I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't like the design of it, and we posted that on Reddit, and we had a lot of people say that they're really not a big fan of the new design language Honda's gone with, but I think that it looks pretty decent. I think that their design language transfers over better into the sedans and coupes that they produce, whether it's the Civic or the Accord, more so than it does with the CR-V and Pilot. So I do like the look of this, and the interior, again, it's a little bit more premium than you might have expected. The screen does have a tilt upward a little bit. We're not super thrilled with that, but the wood trim throughout is really nice. The buttons here have a nice click to them when you turn them on, and you really do have a lot of features. You have backup camera with front and rear parking sensors. You have ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, active cruise control, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist. So you really do have a lot going on with this car at this price point, and really it's more affordable than the other cars that we've featured so far, partially due to the fact that it doesn't have that 2-liter engine, so it's a smaller engine. But if you don't really need it, if you're just using it to get back and forth to work and you're not looking for a performance vehicle, this is great. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm only disappointed because we haven't had as much time to drive it as we normally would, because we booked ourselves with 2 vehicles this week, so we've had to split our time between them. And as much as I've wanted to drive this more, I haven't, because we have something else to be driving. It felt good to get back in the saddle of the Accord. It brought back some good memories of my 1990 LX we featured earlier on. I know a lot of enthusiasts are disappointed that the coupe disappeared from the Accord lineup, but there is certainly a lot to like about the 10th generation we have here. The interior design is nice and well laid out, with some premium-oriented features like ventilated seats and the heads-up display. We found the 1.5-liter engine's performance to be better than we anticipated, and felt peppier than some of the larger turbocharged engines we've driven in this segment. Despite not having a premium audio system, the 452-watt 10-speaker audio system delivered great sound whether we used Bluetooth or Apple CarPlay for our tunes. Considering this is an all-new generation, we expected to find some features on this car, but aren't available. Power folding mirrors have been available on the other 2018 midsize sedans we've driven, along with 360-degree bird's eye view cameras. I think Honda is saving those features to push customers up to the Acura TLX. We also think the navigation screen could be angled a bit further forward instead of upwards, and rework some of the settings to make things a little easier to use. Finally, a shorter gear shifter would be better. Considering the center console sits higher than the driver, they could shave an inch off or redesign the shifter completely to save space. We really enjoyed this Accord as optioned, and can only imagine how much better the 2-liter engine and 10-speed automatic transmission are for performance. But there is something better than that, and it's called Acura. We did have the chance to film a short showdown between the 2018 Acura TLX Tech and this Accord, so stay tuned over the next couple weeks to see that episode and what's different between those two cars. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Honda Accord 1.5-liter Touring. As always, your support helps make this show possible, and by liking and sharing this video, we can grow to reach more viewers. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think of this midsize sedan and this episode. You can follow myself or Perpetual Radio by clicking the links in the description to see what's going on well in advance of our published dates. Until next time, take care.